This is the story of Moses from the second book of the Bible, the book of Exodus. The people of God were slaves in the land of Egypt. They were trapped and could not go home. There were so many of the people of God in Egypt at this time that the Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, was afraid they would take his kingdom away from him. So he said that all the baby boys had to be killed. One of the mothers made a basket of bulrushes, all woven together, and she put her baby in the basket. And she hid them among the reeds of the Nile River. The daughter of the Pharaoh found the basket. She named the baby Moses and raised him in the palace. When Moses was a young man, he saw an Egyptian beating one of the people of God. Moses grew angry and killed him. Then he ran away into the desert. Moses stayed with the family of Jethro. He married Zipporah, one of Jethro's daughters, and became a shepherd. He lived there for 40 years. One day, while Moses was taking care of Jethro's sheep, he took them to the mountain of God, Mount Horeb, which is also called Mount Sinai. Suddenly, he saw a bush. It was burning, but it did not burn up. God spoke to Moses from the burning bush. God told Moses that the cries of the people of God in Egypt had been heard. Moses was to go and set the people free. Moses said, "But who am I to do such a thing?" God said, "I will be with you." "What is your name?" "My name is Yahweh. I am who I am." "Can't you send someone else?" "Aaron, your brother, will go with you." So Moses went back to Egypt to tell the Pharaoh to let his people go. Moses went many times to the Pharaoh to tell him to let God's people go, and many times the Pharaoh said no. Terrible things happened in the land of Egypt. Finally, the Pharaoh said yes. God helped Moses lead the people through the water to freedom. The journey to the promised land took 40 years. The people of God grew tired and hungry and discouraged, and they grumbled to Moses. But God showed the people that God was with them by giving them quail, and manna to eat. When the people were thirsty from traveling in the desert, they complained to Moses. And Moses talked with God. God told Moses to strike a rock with his staff. Water came out of the rock so the people could drink. Something happened that day that we can't really understand. The story says that Moses did not keep faith with God in the midst of the people. So God told Moses that he would see but never enter the promised land. The people were free, but they didn't know the best way to go. With God's help, Moses led the people to God's mountain, Mount Sinai, where God had spoken to him from the burning bush. And Moses went up on the mountain to meet God. The people waited and waited and waited. Moses was gone a long time. The people began to think Moses was never coming back. So they asked Aaron to make them a new god to lead them. Aaron took all the gold the women were wearing and melted it. Then he shaped the melted gold into a calf. He gave the calf to the people, saying, "Here is your God." And the people built an altar and worshipped the golden calf. Moses came down from the mountain. His face was shining. He carried the 10 best ways, but found the people worshiping the golden calf. He grew angry and broke the stone tablets on which the 10 best ways were written. He took the golden calf and threw it in the fire. The people were sorry, so God gave Moses the 10 best ways again, and Moses gave them to the people. God told Moses to have the people make a box called an ark to hold the 10 best ways. The box was covered with gold, and it had poles on the sides so that the people could always carry it wherever they went. God told Moses also how to make a tent called a tabernacle for the ark. When the people stopped to rest in the wilderness, God's glory filled the tent, and Moses came close to God there. Whenever he came out, his face was shining. After 40 years, they came to another mountain, Mount Nebo. Moses looked over into the promised land from the mountaintop, and God said, "I will give this land to the people of God, but you will not cross over." Moses died there, and no one knows to this day where he is buried. Now I wonder what part of the story you like the best. I wonder what part of this story is the most important. I wonder where you are in the story and what part is about you. I wonder if there is any part of the story that we could leave out and still have all the story we need. The ark. The tablet with the 10 best ways. the golden calf, Mount Sinai, the rock and the staff, the manna and the quail, the river that parted, the burning bush, the reeds by the Nile River, Moses, the basket made of bulrushes, Mount Nebo, Mount Sinai, the desert, Egypt, wilderness, Egypt.